the new method that I was attempting to try was not working out. But see how quick it volcanoed? That usually doesn't happen when I'm in the middle of stirring like this. Then I wipe the wire with a paper towel so that I don't get residue in between the next pieces of soap that I cut. Hey y'all, so another edition of In the Making. I don't know why I'm always giggling. You just got to excuse me. I'm special. So I am still in the process of not fully reformulating, but recreating all of my, or most of my old soaps, and replacing the water with aloe vera, thus turning them into aloe vera bar soaps. Mouth, it's 2 seconds into this video. Let's not. Okay, that's all done. Anyway, so next up is going to be my Antsy Pantsy, which is, what's the fragrance? Oh Lord have mercy. It is honeysuckle lemon. Whichever order you say it in, both of those fragrances are going in. It has actually been my #1 best-selling soap for a while. It's one of my favorites too, actually. Great idea. Shout out to the good friend that was like, you should mix these two together, because it was an excellent idea. So I'm gonna go ahead and put this together, this wonderful masterpiece of a soap. All right, here we go. All right, let's go ahead and get this started. So I'm going to start off by weighing out my lye, and then I'm going to swap out my containers so that I can measure out my aloe vera juice next. And then once I get that all poured up, I'm going to add some sodium lactate, which is just basically liquid salt, and some sugar, both to help the soap stay fluid, as this is fluid hot process or countertop hot process. Not only do they help the soap stay fluid, they also make the soap more bubbly and harder for a longer lasting bar. So once I get those two added in, I like to give the mixture a stir just to get those nice and dissolved before I add the lye to the mixture. So you always want to add your lye to your liquid, never ever the other way around. So once I get all the lye in there, I like to stir it up until it's a little less milky. It's not going to go all the way clear since it's not water, but less milky is good enough for me. So once I get that all stirred up to my satisfaction, then I like to go ahead and combine the lye mixture to my heated oils, well, melted oils, and I like to make sure that both are between 200 and 180 degrees. I have found that cooler than 180 is just not agreeable to the process. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and stick blend. And I like to stick blend to a pretty thick trace. So I actually think that this batch was one in which I was trying a different technique, in which you do mostly stick blending, and basically you stick blend it and force it to volcano. At least that's what I'm remembering off memory. It's been a while since I've done it, because I did actually manage to do it successfully, just not in this on this batch. And so I stick blend it for much longer than I usually do. You can see it is extra super thick, and I just sort of gave up for a minute because the stick blender will get hot. I don't want to wear it out or break it, so I just took a second, and which lasted all of no time, and then started stirring. And so in this one, I think I was already just a little fed up because the new method that I was attempting to try was not working out. But see how quick it volcanoed? That usually doesn't happen when I'm in the middle of stirring like this, because it was already kind of volcanoing when I started stirring to begin with, and then it just, it got aggressive. So this I'm calling a false applesauce because it's not really close to done where usual applesauce is, and so it kind of was sitting there, and I was kind of just getting some of the remnants of the last volcano off the side of the pot, and it started to actually volcano again. You see it's getting puffy there on the sides. I don't know if you can tell or not. It's wanting to volcano again, and it's very top of the pot, so I didn't really want to let it because nobody wants to clean that mess up. Okay, so here is the actual applesauce phase that I was looking for. It looks very applesaucy, not safe to eat at all, though it does look very applesaucy. Okay, and so here we're kind of transitioning into the mashed potato-y stage, And so I'm just stirring this to completion. Y'all know how I do. So along with the mashed potatoey stage, we're actually going into another volcano, because this soap, it would not stop volcanoing. So like I kind of sort of got, I guess, the not quite the method that I wanted, but you do get a lot of volcanoes with that method. And so look, it is really just, I mean, it is trying to really get away from me here, but I am not going to let it. Obviously, you see there, decided to take control. Okay, so anyway, I'm stirring that back into submission, and it is finally transitioning now into the Vaseline stage, which is the final stage. And you can just tell, because that color is sort of shifting into like a bit more of a translucent, deeper color than the what did I just say was mashed potatoes? Okay, and also it starts to look pretty shiny. So this soap, because I had the lid off for too long trying to attempt these new techniques, it was fluid, but not as fluid as some of the other batches that you saw me create in past videos, but it was fluid enough to get the job done. So here I am weighing out my full fat Greek yogurt. Your yogurt does not have to be full fat or Greek, but it does need to be plain, mind you. So I weighed that out, and now I'm going to add it to my soap. And this is just another method for keeping the soap fluid for this process. So, and I don't know if everyone uses all of these things, but I use all three of the ingredients: the yogurt, the sugar, the sodium lactate, because I'm trying to get my soap to be as fluid as possible. And also the yogurt just has, fairly nice, properties. So does everything else that I put in there. Otherwise it wouldn't go in there, and now I'm getting off topic, my bad. So you saw me stir that in there thoroughly, and it did look pretty fluid. So now is the time that I'm going to measure out my colorants. And so I always add them to oil that I reserved from the original recipe. It's usually the olive oil pomace. So there's the yellow, and now I'm going to add in my pink, and finally, do I add in the, now I'm just drawing a blank. Okay, so I'm going to stir. I'm going to stir the yellow because I do want to combine it and make sure it's fully incorporated. And if I leave it there too long, I'm usually afraid that I'm going to end up with like chunks of color that didn't get fully, immersed, or fully, what is the word I'm looking for? Whatever, you know what I mean. Okay, moving along. I'm going combined. That's what I was looking for. Okay, now I'm measuring out my fragrance, and it's honeysuckle and it's lemon. There we go. So now I'm going to stir in my white, which is titanium dioxide. I just feel like that's the best white for soap making. And I've said it before, I don't really like titanium dioxide because of its messy factor, and it gets all over everything. It's really hard to get out of things. That's why I use predominantly metal. What am I using? Look, spoons and such, or silicone. It gets off those pretty well, but not regular plastic. So anyway, I dumped the fragrance in there, and now I'm just stirring that up thoroughly. I feel like if I don't stir it very thoroughly and aggressively, even that sometimes I end up with fragrance at the bottom, loose fragrance at the bottom of the pot as I'm pouring the soap, instead of it just being fully incorporated. Am I making sense? I'm so sorry. So anyway, I'm just going to separate the soap into my different containers so that I can add the colorants. And so that big one, I think it's going to be pink. We'll find out when I pour, won't we? Okay, anyway. Well, they're both the same, kind of close to the same size, aren't they? Never mind. All right, so that's the two big containers, and then I have a small container for the white. Well, it's a smaller container. Anyway, so now it's time to dump the colors into the soap and get those mixed in. So first I'm going to add the pink and aggressively stir it in there after I get all the colorants in, apparently. Now I'm going to add the yellow. There we go. Okay, and finally the white. So I just change how I do things all the time. Sometimes I stir it in. Sometimes I pour the color in and stir it immediately, and sometimes I pour all the colors, in their separate containers and then stir. Whatever. It's the ADHD, I'm sure. Anyway, so I stir fairly aggressively because I don't want there to be like random uncolored bits of soap in there, because it's not cute. This is the bottom line. So anyway, finally I'm going to get around to stirring in this white, and then I'll be ready to start the pour, which is, fun, of course. So getting that finally incorporated in there, and then I'm going to make space here so that I can get my molds up here. I really like to use these silicone molds. They're from some kind of depot. Don't get me to lying. Anyway, I really like the silicone molds. They're my favorite. I don't have to do a whole lot of cleanup. It's not really difficult to use them. It's not hard to demold the soaps after. They don't stick, all that other stuff. Anyway, unfortunately they only make them in these sizes, but you know, that's why I have so many. So anyway, I just go in and pour my soap as you see me doing now, and I like to do contrasting colors next to each other. All of these are kind of contrasting, so it really doesn't matter which ones I pour in next. And I'm giving that a nice thorough shake because I want the bottom to be fully covered in the pink, and as you can kind of see, it wasn't until I kind of sloshed it around in there, and that's just because the soap is a little firmer than usual, but I didn't care. I was still going to go on with my process. It's another attempt at I've been calling it a modified drop swirl, but it's just, you know, it's the same process as one. It's just that this is not cold process soap, and so it's not as fluid, but you know, it's worked out well enough when I've tried it in the past that I just think it's a fun option, something different to try, and y'all know how I love that, right? So anyway, getting all these in, and then I'm just kind of banging that on the top of the table just to make sure that all the soap is fully settled in there, and I don't like end up with the appearance of like holes in my soap. I don't like that. It's not a good look. So I'm finally getting all this in here and emptying these containers. I really do go through a whole process of making sure I get every little bit of soap out of these. Waste not, want not. Okay, so now it's time to add the pixie dust. You know how I love my glitter, y'all, so I just like to give every one of these a nice little layer of glitter, and then I take my metal chopstick and just swirl the tops because I just feel like it looks a little better with them swirled, and it kind of incorporates the glitter on the top a little better so it just doesn't fly off and make a mess. So that's what she looks like, pretty. I put them in the freezer for like 5 or 6 hours, and I actually waited until they were completely thawed out before I demolded them. And I don't know, I done told you I change stuff up all the time. Don't start asking me to make sense now. Sometimes I take them out of the molds when they're freezing, but then I always wait until they're thawed out to cut them no matter what, because y'all heard me talk about how I've broken my soap cutter a whole bunch of times by doing that. So there you go. So anyway, I've demolded it and I brought my soap cutter over, and now I'm just going to take it and push it all the way to the end and make sure it's completely flush against all the sides, and then I'm just going to bring that cutter down. And I like to pull the rest of the soap away from the one slice so that it just doesn't make a mess or scrub against each other when I pick it up. And then I wipe the wire with a paper towel so that I don't get residue in between the next pieces of soap that I cut. And every time I do another cut, I do it exactly the same way. So these are the bars that I decided to share, and I really liked how they turned out. So thank you for watching. If you like what you saw, please consider subscribing to my channel. I'll see you later.